Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for Windows Weekly is provided by CacheFly at CACHEFLY.com. This is Windows Weekly with Paul Thurrott, episode 138, live from CES 2010. Windows Weekly is brought to you by Audible.com. To download a free audiobook of your choice, visit audible.com/windows and follow Audible on Twitter at audible_com. And by GoToMeeting. Do more and travel less with GoToMeeting. Make your next meeting a GoToMeeting instead. For your free 30-day trial, visit gotomeeting.com/twit. And by the new voice-activated sync, featuring hands-free calling, music and podcast search, and turn-by-turn navigation. Available exclusively on Ford, Lincoln, and Mercury vehicles. For more details, visit syncmyride.com. It's time for Windows Weekly. Paul Thurrott is here from the Super Site for Windows, winsupersite.com. He's also the editor, news editor for Windows IT Pro, the author of Windows 7 Secrets. And how many years at CES for you?
9 or 10.
And before that, Comdex, of course, for many years, I'm sure. Yeah. First thing I'm going to ask you, I expected when we got here that this would be kind of a dying conference.
Yeah, and it's not.
It's not. It was smaller last year.
Although it is dead to me.
That's just a personal
and I'll explain why later, but yeah.
That's just a personal
It's just well, you know, it's not a computer show.
Right. But it is increasingly.
For many years, Microsoft and Intel were center stage.
Right.
Right at the doors, the central.
Not this time.
No,
it's TVs this time.
It's TVs, yeah. And that's where I think that's where this is the CE market that they're covering, so that makes sense.
Nevertheless, when Intel is here, all the PC manufacturers are here. Lenovo's here.
All the smartphone guys,
absolutely. Smartphones.
Yeah. Google's here even in a small way.
Yeah. My question though is it growing? It seems like it is.
Yeah, it is.
So that's surprising because I thought trade shows just didn't make sense in the internet era. Actually, we'll ask Henry when
clearly they do.
When we get a chance. Because
we should get a chance quickly because we're on a limited
well, let's get him
schedule.
In here, so. All right, I can handle that. I have the capability. Henry Chai is here. He is from Lenovo. It's good to see you, Henry.
Yeah, good to see you.
And Henry, Lenovo showed this new U1 off.
Yeah. So before we get to that, let's progress through it because they have a Skylight SmartBook. Yeah. And by SmartBook, we're talking about it's a Snapdragon-based machine. It runs a custom version of Linux with their own UI, the Skylight UI on it.
Okay.
So can we pop this up real quick?
So now I don't know if we, Brent, we don't really have a handheld. So what I'm going to do, I guess, is put it in front of me.
Yeah.
And I will be your hand model.
Okay. Sorry.
And I will just. I think people can see pretty well if I do it like this. So first of all, it's netbook sized,
but much thinner, right?
Very thin.
Very thin.
I mean, look at that.
And how much does this weigh? What's the weight?
Around 2 pounds.
2 pounds, yeah.
The screen on this is pretty, again, you're not going to really be able to tell, but it's a pretty spectacular screen.
The coolest thing about it in many ways is the user interface, which you think would be the problem on something like this that's a Windows type machine. It's not running mainstream operating system, but it's very, very cool.
This is Linux?
It's Linux based.
Is it a special Linux for Lenovo or using a standard distro? How are you doing?
It's a special customized Linux.
Okay, kind of like when Asus came out with the first EPC, they used a Xandros that was a customized Linux.
Yeah, so it's touch enabled.
Yeah.
It's got widgets. No, it's not touch enabled. Not this version, I'm sorry. And it has widgets.
Yes, everything is widget based.
And this is a platform that you're opening up so that people can make their own widgets and all that stuff.
People can develop their own widgets to support this platform.
How much is this going to sell for?
Sell for $4.99.
$4.99, something like that. You haven't determined the price yet.
Without a wireless contract.
Okay, so this is a 3G net, but it does have Wi-Fi, right?
No, does not have Wi-Fi. It's 3G.
Does not. It's 3G only. Okay.
So typically people will buy this with a wireless contract.
This will be subsidized.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It will be less expensive.
Yeah.
So there's some cool stuff going on here, but obviously we want to get to the.
I think that's remarkable.
It is
very light,
very
very thin. the screens, and I noticed this on all the netbooks, they're really paying attention to the screens and keyboards. They realized that that was the consumer pain point on these things. So make a good screen. What's the resolution on this, Henry?
It's a standard 720p resolution.
See, that's a big deal, because I can now watch. Is there enough horsepower? Is it an Atom process system, or is it
no,
Snapdragon?
No, it's Snapdragon.
Snapdragon. So there's enough power to play back 720p video on this?
Yes.
What's the graphics subsystem? Is Snapdragon a system on a chip? Is it an SoC?
Yes.
So it's all in the Snapdragon. That's really really beautiful.
Absolutely
I really like it. But that isn't what got all the attention. I have to say, this U1. Yeah, give it back to Henry.
Yeah, sorry.
Henry wants it back.
I know. Now, this is the hybrid notebook.
Yes.
Right. So, as it is here, and maybe I could just take this. So it's a Windows 7 notebook. It's got a dual-core processor, an Intel processor. Your standard Windows 7 notebook. I'm going to have him do the reveal. But the top part of it...
It's really beautiful. It's got a rubberized grip touch at the pad here, which is really nice. The touchpad is integrated into that. Both left and right mouse buttons, which you and I both agree, having a single button just doesn't do it. This is heavier, though. It feels a little heavier.
Well,
there's a reason.
Right. So this is, in fact, two different computers. So most of this screen top here actually pops out. I'll have you do this.
Yes, sure.
I don't want to mess that up. But what's inside there is essentially what's inside the other.
Look at that. He just popped the screen out.
Right. So what we have here, this is a touch-enabled
That's amazing.
tablet.
That's amazing.
With that same operating system from the other machine, same Snapdragon.
Here, let me hold this up so people can see it. So this is, again, the Snapdragon just in this.
Yes.
And there's no keyboard, but it is touch. Is it multi-touch?
Multi-touch.
It's multi-touch, so we can pinch and zoom and all of that stuff.
So this has its own battery. It has its own processor.
That's amazing.
The base also has its own battery, its own processor.
So the idea is you take this and you sit down in the living room, or you take it to the bathroom, as I imagine some people will do, and that stands by itself. But then...
Or on your car, it's also 3G enabled.
So you could use this in the car as well.
Yes.
And it can play back movies on the Snapdragon as well. So it's 720p.
Yes.
And then you snap it back in. This is what's amazing. Go ahead and hold up the U1 and snap it back in, because it's just kind of amazing.
You do that. Also, there's an integration feature between the web browsers and the different operating systems.
So it docks back into the lid of the U1. And now it's going to Windows 7.
And it shoots right back to Windows 7.
If you're hand it over so I can just show people that.
If you're browsing the web on the Snapdragon part of it, and you snap it back in, the IE browser loads, and it loads to the same page you were on in the other system. So there's sort of a continuity.
Oh, so it sees where you've been, and it kind of picks that up. Very nice. So you're not really starting over when you snap it out or snap it back in. That is spectacular. I think that's a great product. Now, is this more of a laptop-priced product?
Yeah, I think so.
This was a little further out. So this is the third quarter of 2010.
Third quarter.
One of the things that we should explain to everybody when you come to CES, you see stuff that is often not going to be available till the fall.
Right.
Because this is going to the dealers saying, dealer, we want you to carry it, and in the fall,
Right. And it's important to know too with this one, this is not a netbook class machine. This is a real Windows 7 dual-core.
What's the processor in there? Dual-core?
Dual-core.
Yeah. Is it a
Dual-core 4100 for this machine, but actually, then you can change it to...
So you use the ULC, the ultra-low power dual-core.
This one uses ULC.
And the video system in there, is it NVIDIA? What are you using for the video system?
This one is integrated.
So it's an Intel GMA.
Intel GMA.
Excellent.
But never mind, we can design any standard laptop for the base product. It's a standard laptop.
So really, the technology is this tablet that you can take out, and you could put this in any Lenovo laptop. Now it surprises me because Lenovo, when IBM sold Lenovo, it was a business brand, very much of a business brand, and still is in many ways. This is not a business laptop.
No, but they have an IdeaPad line of products that are aimed at consumers.
That's their netbook.
But that was the first question I asked my friend Jeffrey over at Lenovo now was when IBM was selling Lenovo ThinkPad and the ThinkCenter brand to Lenovo, I said, how is this going to impact things for you? And he said, actually, it's a net positive because now we can sell to consumers. And you've seen over the years how much more of the consumer stuff has come along.
Exactly.
Grunge Bob is asking in our chat room, battery life. What kind of battery life are we expecting?
For the Slate part, it can run with 3G browsing around 8 hours.
Because it's just a Slate, it's,
But when running in Windows 7 mode, given we have two batteries, one in Slate and one in base, so in total it runs, till now it's 8 hours or 2 for Windows 7, but we're expecting more.
2 hours for Windows 7?
No, 8 hours.
8 hours.
But he's expecting more.
And up to 10?
Yes.
Because right now it's
Even in that form factor with that size of a battery. That's amazing.
Because we have 2 batteries, actually.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. There's one in the Snapdragon.
Yeah, and that's why it's not that it's heavy, but it is.
It's a little heavier.
It's heavier than you might expect looking at it.
It's dense.
Yeah, but it has 2 batteries.
So in total, it's 3.5 pounds.
3.5 pounds.
But
see, that's nothing.
3.5 pounds. Why is it so heavy?
It's nothing. but it's so small. You expect it to weigh more. The weight doesn't seem to match the size. Henry, that is really a great product. We're very excited. It sounds like Lenovo is going to now have a business category and a consumer category.
So business for ThinkPad, consumer for IdeaPad.
Yeah, that's great. ThinkPad and IdeaPad.
Yeah.
That's great. Thank you so much for coming by. We're really pleased to see it. Have a great show, Henry.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming by. Yeah, take care. Henry Chai from Lenovo. That is a spectacular product. The first thing when I asked Paul, what have you seen? What do you like? And that was the first thing he said is that is the thing to see.
And you know what's interesting is this was one of the first things I did see at the show.
Right.
And now having spent a lot of time walking around looking at everything else,
it's the only thing you care about.
This is absolutely the best thing I've seen. And it's
isn't it sometimes that way?
It's awful when you ruin it. I mean, before the show, if it starts.
Yeah.
10 o'clock in the morning, the day before the show, it's like it's over.
This was a show, we're going to talk about it in a little bit. Microsoft did have a big presence in an unusual way with Microsoft Auto.
Yeah.
And we'll talk a little bit about all the new automotive stuff, the embedded stuff, because a lot of it's running Microsoft. I think that's actually a whole new market for Microsoft that might be a big market. And in fact, it was a cover in New York Times. This is the big story of the show. 3D TVs and car electronics, car
Windows
computers.
everywhere, Leo.
Finally.
That's what it's all
Bill
about.
Gates gets his dream come true. This portion of our show is brought to you by our friends at Sync. They really have set the standard using Microsoft Auto for the best in-car electronics anywhere. I mean, this thing is an amazing sync, and you've heard me talk about it. We drove down the Lincoln MKT with the sync, and I asked our driver. I said, "Did you use the sync?" He said, "No, I was paying attention to the road." Yeah. But let me tell you, the whole point of sync is, once you get used to it, you realize you are paying attention. You press the button on the steering wheel, your hands never leave the wheel. You never have to look down because the sync talks to you. And the voice recognition, which I found out now is built in by Nuance, is really superior. So you're really getting great voice recognition, and it can tell it anything you want. It pairs with your phones, up to 25 different phones. It allows you to say, play a song, play a track, play an artist, play a genre, from anything that's connected to the USB. That could be the Droid, the Zune, the iPhone, even a USB hard drive. You could plug it in, it'll scan all the songs, and then you can ask for the songs by name. It's got the vehicle health report, amazing, that goes to the website, which is syncmyride.com. And it even has a 911 assist using your phone. If you get in a bad situation, your airbags deploy, it gives you a chance to cancel it, but if you don't respond, it calls 911. It streams your GPS coordinates, because it has GPS built in, and tells them, we need help at this location. And I think that's a really important technology I hope I never have to use. It's all available online if you want to take a look at it. syncmyride.com, but you should also go to your Ford, Lincoln, or Mercury dealer and take a look, because the Sync is amazing. And the announcements they made here for the new Sync going forward, fantastic, huge stuff. Now, Microsoft Auto is now going to be in the Kia, and I wonder if they're going to make deals with more and more manufacturers.
Oh, they have to. In fact, it's hard when you see the Sync not to wish that this wasn't available more broadly.
Exactly, In fact, I wish I could get it in a third-party situation, because frankly, twist that knob. Just get that right in front of your face. We're playing a little bit with the audio still.
Sorry.
I apologize for not having it perfectly
I asked you if I needed my mic for this.
Did you bring your mic?
No.
I brought mine.
I know, it's nice.
It's not the gold one, though.
Sure.
So the car electronics is very controversial because, thank you, Colin. She just came in and touched you. You. Why I oughta. Is very controversial because of the distractibility factor. And yet I think that all of these guys are saying, well, we'll let you watch DVDs, just not when you're moving, things like that.
I think that we're going to enter an age very soon where this is going to be legislated across the board.
I absolutely
Certain
agree.
states are obviously...
They had to do it with texting.
Yeah.
They had to do it with the cell phones.
So, I think there's no getting around the fact that cars are the center of many people's lives, or part of their lives, and so forth.
Well, Walt Mossberg said an interesting thing. We were at the Ford suite, and Walt was there in the car, and he said, in the past, you've gotten in a car and it's been welcome to 1957.
Right.
You're basically going from a connected world to a disconnected world, and I think it's interesting that you know, the response of the car manufacturers has been, well, let's connect you. And that's what consumers want.
Yeah.
They want to be surfing.
They want to be surfing. They want to have something where the kids in the back seat have access to a wireless network and from their iPod or whatever they may have, that they can you know, play multiplayer games even, or connect with their friends and all that kind of stuff. And rather than have the car be an isolation point where, you know, you're not online, you're not connected, it's going to become increasingly more connected. But it's funny, you know, years ago when Microsoft first started doing their automotive stuff, I was completely uninterested. When they announced the Ford Sync stuff, I thought, no, this isn't really interesting. But it's the kind of thing when you experience it, you realize how excellent it is.
Yeah, it just takes a while.
Yeah.
And I think, well, to be honest, I mean, if I look at the Kia stuff, it's not quite there yet. It takes a while working with customers to understand what they want in a system like this.
Well, and Kia will roll it out like Ford did, very slowly. You know, you notice initially it's going to be one model later this year. Next year, I'm sure it will be 2 or 3 models. And then, you know, Ford did the same thing. It started off as sort of a luxury item, and then it made its way to all of the products they sell. So the rental car that I had earlier, or I guess it was last year now, was a very low-end vehicle.
Simple compared to what they're doing now,
But it's in there.
But it's in there.
But it's in there.
What is Microsoft's, did you go to Steve Ballmer's talk?
No, I watched it remotely. Well, listen, one thing that comes with maturity is an understanding that waiting in line to see something live that you can watch remotely is not...
Much better.
Yeah, there's no point in that.
Did Steve say anything of interest?
No. No, you know, it's somewhat disappointing. There's a hype machine that's built around our industry, obviously, and right now it's dominated by Apple. That's just the way it is. And Apple's got a tablet coming, maybe, probably, and everyone's reacting to that. And you can see at this show, tablets are everywhere, to the point where even though Microsoft has...
Well, I noticed, I wasn't going to say anything, but the Lenovo guy called it a slate.
Yeah.
It's like not just tablet. They called it a slate.
It's a slate.
Because of the presumption that that's what Apple's going to call it, which, by the way, I'd be very surprised if they do. But it's very interesting.
Yeah, so in 2002, when the first tablet PCs came out, there were 2 versions, the convertible laptops and the slate machines, which are the keyboardless slate design. By far, the convertible laptops were more interesting to everybody.
Me too.
Because they were laptops. And now, here we are, nobody bought any of these things. And now
the slate is back, baby.
The slate is back. It's the biggest thing in the world.
And it's still not interesting, if you ask me. I just don't get it. And Dell has announced it. Every company has announced HP.
Here's where those are interesting. So a tablet PC, a convertible laptop, you know, 5% of the time, less, maybe you need that functionality. It's nice when it's there, but it's not necessary. But there are these instances where, you know, you're on a plane, and the guy in front of you puts the seat back, and you can't watch a movie on your laptop. But if you can put that thing in slate mode, that's doable. Or if you can pop the slate off, like on the Lenovo device, that becomes really valuable. You get 8 hours of battery life, you can watch movies. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
You know, browsing the web at home if you're in bed or on the couch. So
you're a believer.
What I've noticed with Windows 7 is once you get multi-touch in the OS, not on a traditional laptop, because actually Lenovo sells those as well, but Lenovo right now sells convertible laptops. And those machines are actually fantastic. Because you can use them in that dual use.
Either way.
Yeah, and I think it's the multi-touch that puts it over the top.
HP also has multi-touch in a netbook, which is just such a shock to see it in a netbook, at a netbook price.
Yeah, and Lenovo, actually, we didn't have it here today, but Lenovo also announced a convertible netbook.
Right,
same sort
So
of thing.
You're saying that there's a product, the Slate product is going to be of value. It's multi-touch that changes
I don't think Slate by itself is enough. It has to, I think the reason I like this Lenovo is because it's both.
Yeah.
You have the opportunity to use it in either way. I really still feel that a slate is a niche, kind of limited use thing. I would be personally very happy with a slightly bigger iPod Touch, just to watch movies on a plane. But you know, how many of those can they sell? We're not talking about something that's going to sell in tens of millions of units a year.
He also said Natal will come out later this year, finally. So now I can...
Sure.
The Sony booth, they have also kind of a gesture-based, no remote control needed, and it's just painful to watch the poor woman who has to demonstrate this 80 times a day for the next 4 days, going, and she's great because she's got the pattern. I'm just browsing through all this stuff, but it's not doing what she wants it to do. And I just think gesture, maybe for a game.
I don't feel great about this stuff.
Do you feel empty? You look like you feel empty.
I do feel empty. Well, you know, we have a Nintendo Wii at home, and I would say, despite the fact that I have 2 young children, it sits there unused for much of the year. And every once in a while...
That's kind of interesting. Me too. I never use mine.
Yeah, every once in a while something
I say
will
that,
happen.
by the way, I get a call.
Yes.
People say, what are you talking about? It's the greatest gaming invention in the world.
Exactly.
And the nunchucks and the things, that's very cool.
Yeah, but
so
it's
Natal is that without
stuff.
that, right?
Yeah, so it's a full-body motion sensor type of thing, supposedly. I mean, I have my doubts about this thing because, again, what we've seen so far, it's a lot of controlled demos.
Yeah,
and
and even in the controlled demo that I saw today from Sony, it didn't work so good.
Right. And you'd have to think Sony's is even further behind. I also love the notion that Microsoft is pushing the fact that they've somehow been working on this for a decade, and now it's finally coming to fruition. Not that they're reacting to the fact that Nintendo just kicked their butt for the past 4 or 5 years or whatever it's been. Right. It's just it's a reaction to the Wii, and I think that its usage is going to follow the same trajectory. It will be initially a big deal, and then it'll, and every once in a while, in my Christmas time, my wife actually uses Wii Fit, so I got her the upgrade.
So I think Natal might be great for Fit, right?
Yeah, so I got her the upgrade package. So I actually brought the Wii upstairs, put it on the HD TV, and now my kids have been playing it for a couple of weeks, since Christmas.
Right.
But I expect that to drop off like it always does, and and we'll see. I don't know.
What else did he say? Anything else of interest?
So I think the big stuff from the keynote was, Windows 7 momentum stuff, which, whatever. They didn't actually talk any.
As we've said before, there's no way
numbers.
you could not have momentum on the operating system that's shipping with hundreds of millions of computers a year. I mean, you're going to have automatic momentum.
I wish they had come out with some number. They said it was the fastest selling operating system of all time, which I'm sure it is. They said that PC makers will have shipped almost 300 million PCs last year, which I'm sure is true.
Wow.
But Windows 7 was only available on those PCs for 2.5 months.
Yeah.
So how many units did you sell? It's unusual. If you look back over the past several releases of Windows, they've always released some press release. Windows 95 has now sold 25 million copies in only X number of months on the market. There's always been something like that. And for some reason this time they haven't done that. And I'm a little confused by that.
Also, IPTV, didn't he have something to say about that?
Yeah, new version of Media Room. People have misconstrued my comments about Media Room.
Media Room.
Media Room, not to be confused with Media Center or Media Player.
What is Media Room?
Media Room is Microsoft's Media Center-like set-top box software for cable companies. The problem is, and this came to I guess I reminded myself of this rereading World War 3.0. 10, 15 years ago, Bill Gates was trying to get his software into set-top boxes, and he was so belligerent with these people, and they were so afraid of Microsoft that they just backed off.
Well, also, it was very expensive. We talked about this before. To do a set-top box that can run Windows, you got to put some processor power in there, and they didn't want to do that.
But if you think about what's possible today, this would not be expensive at all. It would be very easy. The problem is those relationships aren't really there. So this IPTV solution is available in Europe, in a few places internationally. It's available on AT&T Universe or Uverse.
Uverse, yeah.
Which is limited distribution in the United States. So it's not something that's widespread. And it's too bad because when you look at it, it's beautiful.
Right.
It's absolutely beautiful.
Right.
And if you compare it to your typical, coax cable interface or whatever you may have, it's only 10,000 times nicer. It's just that none of us can get it. Right. I would love to get that on Fios or whatever. And I hope that that's what happens. And hopefully, if they make a big enough splash here, that's what will happen. So
I'm going to get my producer to go over. I see Robin Liss over there, and if one of the producers will go grab Robin Liss, we'll get her on a little bit later because she does the great digital camera info and camcorder info websites.
Okay.
But they won't know that until 10 seconds from now when
Dane's not paying.
No, he's listening, but in 10 seconds he's going to hear that I said this and watch him jump. It's amazing. It's an incredible thing. Hey, we want to thank our friends at GoToMeeting for sponsoring this show. In fact, really, our sponsors make this all possible. Without their help, we wouldn't be here. GoToMeeting, it actually would make it possible to do this without being here. So I kind of like that idea.
I do too.
Just kind of do the whole show.
I'll tell you what. Next year, I'll come to Petaluma. We'll just do it from there.
You and I sit. We could be like.
If you could just have a line going toward breakfast, it will be just like.
We'll be like in the skybox.
Yeah.
And we'll have lines. We'll have faux lines, but it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that'll be good.
Yeah. Make up. You can't. I'm sorry, Paul. You can't get into your car for an hour.
Yeah.
There's 20 people ahead of you. That kind of thing.
Are you hungry? Oh, good. Now wait an hour and then we'll eat.
Yeah, good. GoToMeeting means that you can get your meetings done, get your work done, get your presentations done without leaving your office. I tell you what, this is a revolution. $49 a month for unlimited meetings as long as you want, as often as you want. The technology couldn't be easier to install. In fact, you can do it right now. Go to gotomeeting.com/twit. You'll have it installed in just about 30 seconds, maybe a minute to download it, depending on your bandwidth. And now, anytime you want to have a meeting, all you have to do is say to your client or your colleague, hey, go to gotomeeting.com. Here's the meeting ID. Now they're seeing your computer on their screen, and they're able to see your PowerPoint, your presentation. You can collaborate together. You can even give them control. You can even say, I want to see what's on your screen, and they can take over the screen. Very flexible, very powerful. Citrix has been at this for years. In fact, it was here in Las Vegas that I first met Ed Iacobucci, and we drove into a poll together. It was a great moment. It was a rental car, so we didn't care really.
Right.
We just walked away from that one. But Ed now, by the way, rents time sharing jets, so he's doing well.
Yeah, I'm surprised I haven't run into him in that business.
They really created this remote access technology. They've used it so well with GoToMyPC, GoToAssist, and of course GoToMeeting. Give it a try for free for 30 days. GoToMeeting.com/twit. It's a great way to thank them for helping us do this conference.
Am I going to have my first walk-on here?
You're going to have a walk-on?
Yeah, this is what's happening here.
We'll get Robin on in a little bit. Not right now, but in a little bit we're going to get Robin on. But she's here.
I'm so excited for that.
By the way, I'm told by the chat room now that I'm wearing my headphones backwards. So let me just see what happens if I turn these around. Oh my God. Wow. The world has changed.
Broadcasting professional.
It's incredible. All this time I've been wearing my headphones backwards. So anything else? Let's talk about the My Room. What is it?
A Media Room.
Media Room.
Media Room 2.0.
I'm still not clear what that is compared to Media Center.
If you're familiar, so you're familiar with Media Center, it's PC software.
Yeah, My Room
runs in Windows. Media Room, not My Room. Media Room.
Media Room
is Media Center-like software that runs on your set-top box. No. So what?
Oh, you did say set-top box. I heard you say that.
It is a cable set-top box.
But whose set-top box is it?
Well, like AT&T Uverse, for example.
That's it. Okay.
Now, what they've done this year is they've extended.
I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention. Now I'm catching up.
It's okay, but now I'm really going to screw you up because this year they've extended it out to PCs, and to.
But that's Media Center.
No, hold on. No, in other words, if you are a subscriber of, let's say, AT&T Uverse, you might want to have access to the shows that you subscribe to while you're on the road with your laptop.
Oh, I got it. So it's like Sling or something.
Yeah, you can bring up that interface on
That's
your
cool.
laptop. Yeah.
Everybody, Comcast, everybody's doing that now.
It's nice because now we have laptops that are powerful enough to show us the set-top box software. Which I believe has the same processor they used when they went to the moon the first time in 1969.
I think it's an 8080. It's an 8-bit chip. It's not complicated.
It's like a MOS Technologies 6502
exactly.
or something. Right?
Yes, there you go.
Yeah.
So anything else? I mean, is that the complete Ballmer story? Is there anything else that he talked about that was of interest to you?
Yeah, I would say it's more interesting in some ways to look at what Microsoft has in their booth, because there's some stuff going on there that wasn't in the keynote, which is too bad. There's some stuff going on with Zune. They're updating the software on the device in the coming months to support the Smart DJ feature, for example. They're going to have support for a new, different version of MPEG-4, so you can get media from other places other than just the Zune marketplace. And they're working to rush the Facebook application to the device.
Finally, finally, I can't wait.
I can't believe they're not killing the iPod. It's unbelievable.
Facebook on my Zune HD
in 2010 or 2010.
2010.
Have we debated this yet? Which is correct?
We have.
Yeah. What did we decide? 2010.
I don't know if you and I talked about it, but I've been on the rampage. 2010.
2010. That's what I think too.
Fewer syllables.
Here's the thing. I can't stop saying 2010, but I agree that 2010 is the right way.
I'm the same thing. I'm saying 2010 half the time, but I'm getting there. I'm more and more 2010 sounding right to me.
The one thing I haven't done this year is miswrite the date as 2009. Well, I don't write checks, but
you don't write checks?
When I update
That's a
my
good
site.
point. I've written like one check.
Yeah.
That's a very good point. It used to be that was the big thing at the end of the year. You have to remember it. 2010, 2010, 2010.
Yeah.
I haven't written a check in ages.
Yeah, I don't write checks.
Isn't that funny? That's a big change.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for joining us on the Old Geezer Show. The world, it's changing, and we're talking about it. What else is new in your world, Paul?
Apparently Microsoft has a new search service. Have you heard of this?
What's that called? Bing?
Yeah, Bing or Bling or something.
Yeah. Did they talk about Bing at all?
Yeah, well, just again, it's done pretty well given that they're starting from zero in many ways.
Can I tell you, correct me if I'm wrong, but it sure looks like when I'm listening to the Bomber keynote, it's all Me Too stuff. Google, we've got Bing.
Well,
let's see, what else?
Sure.
You can gesture.
We can do that too. Yeah.
We can do that.
Oh, did Apple announce a tablet? We have one of those.
We got one of those.
Although arguably they did have those first. I think that rather than that, I think the issue I have with the keynote stuff is that, as we said earlier, CES is about what's coming later this year. It's January, but we're really looking at stuff.
What about Azure? What about Live? What about the cloud? What about that's where Microsoft's got to go.
Right. So in other words, what you sort of want and expect from a CES keynote
future
is the future. And really what they talked about was the past, right?
Yeah.
Microsoft is big on momentum, which is something they talk about when they have nothing to say, and nothing new to say. And that's too bad because, people wanted to see something about that Courier laptop, for example.
Etchu says, the day Microsoft makes something that doesn't suck is the day they make a vacuum.
Yikes. Well, Windows 7 doesn't suck. That's not fair.
No, it's just a good line. I don't concur, but it's a very good line.
Yeah.
The Microsoft vacuum, it doesn't suck.
It doesn't suck.
I think that you're right, and I think it's kind of, I don't know if it's telling. I wonder where Ray Ozzie is. I wonder why he's not more
There's
forefront.
a lot of stuff up in the air right now that maybe would have been good for the show. For example, what's going on with Windows Live? Right? Where's the next version of the live services? Where are all the integration pieces that aren't there? Why can't I sync my live calendar to my Windows mobile device?
Right.
This is all stuff that they sort of released last year as part of Wave 3, and then it's been really kind of silent over there, except for a few small releases over last year. And this would have been the appropriate show to say, look, this is what we're doing to make Windows better with Windows Live in 2010.
What about PC manufacturers? Did you see anything interesting there?
Besides,
we took the
aside
Lenovo,
from the Lenovo
which was
stuff,
really fantastic.
Yeah, so that to me that was the big stuff.
HP have anything new to talk about?
Yeah, well, of course they have their the Slate laptop, which I think is kind of interesting.
The HP Slate, the Dell Slate, the Lenovo Slate.
I was, you get that sort of buyer's remorse thing. I have 3 of these Toshiba netbooks, which are fantastic, and the new version of that netbook, of course, the battery doesn't stick out the back. It's got the faster processor.
We are seeing better battery life. That's interesting. I don't know how they're doing that.
And that was one of the magical things that started last year. All of a sudden, we went from 4 to 5 hours of battery life being absolute tops to 8, 9, 10, and beyond.
It's amazing when he says 8+.
And it's without laughing.
Yeah.
This is absolutely going to happen.
That's exciting.
Yeah, it's neat.
Is that because probably because of Intel coming up with low-powered, the ULC chip line, the lower-powered chips, right? More than improved battery technology.
And I should say, one of the conversations I actually had, not to keep beating the Lenovo thing to death, but I was talking to them, and some of their machines actually do have AMD processors in them, and I was thinking back to the conversation we had about AMD, and of course, as I promised you, I got a lot of email from people who are AMD fans and didn't appreciate my stance on that. And
well, just to see Paul's response to the PC gaming issue and change PC gaming to AMD.
And by the way, thank you for bringing it up because that was just starting to die down.
Sorry about that.
It's okay. AMD apparently has a new generation of mobile processors that have a better sort of price to performance ratio right now than Intel does. And so actually Lenovo is using them, which is kind of unusual for that company. They've been kind of big on the Intel stuff. So maybe there's time. Maybe,
just possibly,
I can reevaluate my opinion on that one. But Sony had some interesting looking netbooks. Actually, Sony stuff tends to be a little expensive, but I would say that in the PC world, Sony is like our Apple kind of from a design standpoint.
Well, like that P5. What was it? The P5, that weird, long, thin one. Do they still sell that?
You mean like
it looked like a giant glasses case.
Yeah, they do still sell that. But they sell traditional netbook type computers now. And again, I think they've got nice keyboards and nice designs, colors. They're using recycled materials and all that stuff. So that's kind of interesting.
The Sony booth was quite big. I mean, of course, Sony's business is televisions, and that's mostly what they're talking about. But I think they look like they're a CE presence once again.
Yeah, they're on the edge in some ways, aren't they? Right? I mean, they're obviously a powerhouse, but it seems like they're doing poorly, which is too bad because I've always looked to Sony as kind of a quality brand, and obviously their TVs are fantastic, and a lot of the consumer electronics technology is fantastic. But I don't know. I don't think Blu-ray is ever going to take off in the same way that DVD did.
It's getting harder now.
I don't think it's ever going to happen. And even
you're seeing a lot of streaming video here. I mean,
well, right. If you look at 2009, digital movies and TV shows generated more income than did Blu-ray.
Really?
Yes. And Blu-ray was somewhere around 1/10 of what DVD
Holy
did.
Cow.
Yeah. And digital movies were, I think, almost twice what Blu-ray was last year. And that's even
I had
given,
no idea.
Yeah, even given how much they've grown. You know, it's one of those examples where when you're starting from nothing, you know, you can grow 137% or 300% or whatever it is, and you really don't make that much of a dent. You know, it's just the way it. And I think the world is moving away from optical disc, and you see that in a lot of these PC designs. You know, the netbooks obviously don't have optical disc, but it's not just netbooks. A lot of machines from companies like Dell and Sony and Lenovo actually all have optical disc-less designs, which I actually appreciate. It keeps the weight down and probably improves the battery life because you can, you know, that's more room for battery right there.
I want to ask you about Windows Home Server because I know you're a big fan of Windows Home Server. We're going to talk about that in just a little bit. I do want to take a little break here. And do you have picks? Are you going to do picks?
You know, I do, but I don't know what they are because I don't have them in front of me. But want me to go get my? I'll
go get your picks. Yeah. And while you're getting your picks, I'm going to talk about Audible.com. Those are the folks who brought us here. They have been our sponsor on the network for a couple of 3 years now. One of our first sponsors, still one of our favorites. And if you have not yet tried them, I don't understand why not, because goodness knows I talk about Audible an awful lot. I want you to go to audible.com/windows right now for your free book. You could sign up today for that gold account, get one book free. Paul's a big Audible listener. I know when he comes out to an event like this, he's got his Zunes stocked up with Audible books. I have my iPhone stocked up with Audible books. It's just kind of a requisite for me. Anytime I travel, during the commute, go to the gym, I've got to have those audiobooks because they're just a great way to get a lot of reading done when you don't have time to read. Audible.com/Windows. I know it says TWiT right here, but I'm going to say make sure it's Windows so we get some credit for Windows Weekly, and you can get that first book free. What did you listen to on the plane out here, Paul? You know who James Patterson is here.
I saw that. Are you going to go
see him?
Yeah, and you know who else is here is Guy Kawasaki.
Are you excited about that?
No.
It didn't seem like you didn't seem like a Guy Kawasaki.
No, you know,
fan.
Actually, that's not true. So. His first book, which I think was called, not the Tao of Mac, the one about the way they marketed the first Macintosh.
Yeah. I don't remember the name of it. Is that
book.
on Audible? No, some of his books are, I know.
Oh, really? Probably not. You know, so obviously he's kind of a marketing guy and all that stuff. But that first book, because it dealt with a very specific slice of the PC, the computer industry, and the history of the Macintosh and all, it's actually very interesting to me.
My God, there's an outfit. You don't see that very often. A girl in a top hat 3 sizes too small and torn fishnet stocking.
Actually, I see that all the time.
Oh, do you? Maybe that's something that goes on in your neck of the woods. A little more happens more in Dedham
it's a
than it does
thing,
in
not so much Vegas.
There are a lot of booth babes here. I was surprised. I thought that was over.
No.
It's apparently not.
No, it's not over. Yeah.
Jeez. So what do you got?
So for Audible?
Yeah.
It's the new Michael Crichton book, which is
I know you're a fan.
Yeah, well, this is kind of so this is a nod toward Michael Crichton because I love the guy and obviously he's passed on, but it being his latest book means they found this manuscript after he had passed away, and it was basically complete, but it clearly was written a long time ago. It's not necessarily up to the some of his best work, but it is, you know.
Boy, this is a sterling recommendation. I'm going to run out and get this book. Not his best work. It's okay. What was it? What is it? I might have read it.
Listen, middling Michael Crichton is better than almost anything else, right? Including a lot of James Patterson stuff. So it's called Pirate Latitudes.
Okay.
And it is what it sounds like. It's sort of a swashbuckling.
You can remember, Reggie recommended this before, I think.
No, we discussed. Actually, what I said was it just came out, and I'm not sure I can recommend it.
Did you read it?
I started it. Yeah. So
what do you think?
It's okay. Yeah, it's okay.
It's pirates.
Yeah, it's pirates.
Did they say "R"?
They do.
They don't.
They do.
He actually writes the word "R."
Well, yeah.
When the Audible reader reads it,
I would assume yes that there's
R.
Yes.
Wow.
It is
I
literally.
Read that.
It's literally a period.
Wow.
Pirate piece. Yeah.
R. Me matey.
Yeah.
Did they say me matey?
I haven't come across that yet, but possibly.
Audible.com/Windows. Give it a try. We love Audible, and maybe this is a book for you. Maybe not. but if you like pirates, and who doesn't like pirates?
Exactly.
Arr!
Thank you. In fact, there's got to be a pirate in this room somewhere.
There are women dressed scantily as pirates. For
Even
sure.
better. Yeah.
For sure. I don't know. It's so retro.
Yeah.
To have these scantily clad women
I agree.
It just kind of, I guess it's a testament to the fact that
in fact, we're just doing it for the nostalgia. I'm glad, glad you brought that up.
It's an nod to the 80s.
It is, yeah. It's like a Def Leppard video in here.
Casio, now in a way this was good. Casio has a camera I want to get with 1,000 frames per second shooting, so it's a really super slow-mo. So they wanted to show some action. I understand that. They got a karate team to do some karate. I understand that. Did they have to be gorgeous, hot karate babes?
See, I understand that. So, I don't understand what the problem is here.
No problem. No problem. Let's get Paul's tips. He's got a software tip of the week and a tip of the week.
What do you want first?
Let's start with the tip of the week, as we usually do.
Okay, so I actually have two. You'll appreciate one of these. Can you see that okay?
Yeah.
So
I don't have to read over your shoulder.
Okay, you can. This one is courtesy of Andrew Hudson. Amazon.com is selling Xbox Live subscriptions, yearly subscriptions, and also Microsoft Points at a discount right now. And I checked this morning to make sure these were still valid, and they are. So, for example, you can get a year of Xbox Live for Xbox Live Gold for $35. It's usually $50, so that's a really good deal. In fact, that actually approaches the price that Microsoft employees pay in the Microsoft Store at the campus, which is about $30. So that's an excellent deal. If you want Microsoft Points, which you need to buy things on Xbox Live with, you can get $50 worth of Microsoft Points for $45 right now.
That's great.
I'm
going to do that because I do actually still play Xbox Live.
So. Yeah, absolutely. So I'll have the links up on the on my
winsupersite.com.
Yep.
And another tip. You said you had two.
Stuart, and I don't have his last name. He wrote to tell me that Gina Trapani is working on a Google Wave book, which she's giving away for free, and it's online.
CompleteWaveGuide.com. You can download the PDF, but you can read it for free online. The PDF, I think, is $5, something like that. Yeah.
So I guess it's a living book in the sense that it's being constantly revised.
It is.
Also,
it's a great
just
book.
Like Google Wave itself.
If you're interested, we do this show with her called This Week in Google. It's a great show, and it's CompleteWaveGuide.com.
That's right.
Now, before we get to your software pick of the week, we got to talk about Windows Home Server.
Okay.
Was there anything to see or say at the show?
So there were no announcements about the software per se. They're showing off new home server hardware from a variety of makers. I think Acer was one of them, and Lenovo was one of them.
Right.
And in this market, really, the machine that I have, I think, is the one to beat. It's the HP MediaSmarts, absolutely. And even though the hardware form factor itself is about 2 years old, they've, obviously they've changed the innards a number of times, and they've upgraded the processor, the RAM, and all that stuff. But it's this beautiful little box, and you open it up, and it has these drawers we can pull out for eSATA drives.
Right.
And they're
how many can you put in? 4
internally, but then you can extend off the back as well. USB and eSATA. There's an eSATA port as well. So you're starting to see a bunch of machines from other companies that look a lot like that. Little cubes.
Yeah, that's all they should be. What do they need more than that?
Yeah. So that's kind of cool. And I love Home Server. I recommend it strongly, and it's a great solution. So the only thing I guess I would say is that when we look forward to this year, it's almost a certainty that before the end of the year, Microsoft will ship a major update to the software based on the latest version of Windows Server. The current version is still based on Windows Server 2003. So this is something
that's going to be a big update.
Yeah.
And you think that'll be this year?
I think it will happen this year. But
that's exciting.
That's another thing they're not really talking about at the show.
Again, did he talk about WHS at all?
Not really, just mentioned it.
I think that's such a great product, and
again,
so important.
And we would describe it as a consumer product. Maybe something they would want to talk about at CES.
Well,
and if it is shipping this year, would this be the time
guess Steve Ballmer? I mean, he's a god.
Is he?
No. Clay feet, maybe.
Yeah. He's a Caesar, certainly.
He's a Caesar. Yeah. Little Caesar. Pizza. So, software pick of the week, sir?
Yeah, this one is called Classic Shell, and this was recommended by Monte Christopher Jew. And what it is a way to get the Classic Explorer from older versions of Windows, i.e. XP and back, and also the Classic Start menu in Windows 7. And the reason that's kind of interesting is I'm not a big fan of the old Start menu, although I sort of appreciate that some people may want that. But there are actually some options in the old version of Explorer that have disappeared in Vista and then again in Windows 7. And you can still obviously get to certain things in different ways, but this just basically gives you a toolbar that brings back all of the functionality of the old Explorer. So if you're an old-timer...
A lot of people like that functionality, I have to say. I miss that,
Yeah, it's a neat way just to get that kind of stuff back. So it's at classicshell.sourceforge.net.
Is Windows 7 still structured so that you can just kind of plug in place shells, so you don't have to use Explorer, you could use something else, or is it more of a hack?
I'm sure that it still works that way, but I can't imagine why anyone would do something like that in this day and age.
Did you see the article about God mode?
Yeah. So this is a complete,
talk about that.
This is a complete non-event. Let's just
Okay.
be clear.
Okay.
And the name God Mode, of course, suggests that it's some awesome thing. But what it basically is that in Windows 7, and by the way, also in Vista, there are a number of ways using the proper GUID that you can create what is essentially a shortcut to a control panel.
Right.
Some of which, as it turns out, are not actually exposed as true control panels.
Well, there's always been that way, the control to user password one.
Right, it's always been there. So, in fact, I think it was Ed Bott this week wrote an article about, here are the ones that are only in Windows 7, and then here are the ones that are in Windows 7 and in Windows Vista. And this is, in fact, nothing new. But in fact, when it first came out, I looked at it, and I wasn't even going to mention it, but of course, it's such a big deal, and everyone's writing, Paul, did you hear about God? Obviously, you never heard of a God Mode. Oh, so finally had to,
You had to write an article.
I just wrote a little blog post. I said, look, this is no big deal. It's just an alternate control panel. It's no big deal.
But it's a control panel that has every control panel. It's like the control panel of all control panels.
It's actually not even that. I wouldn't even say it's that.
Oh.
But it's a control panel that has some stuff that's not in the control panel.
Got it.
But there are other GUID values that you can put into this folder name that will give you very specific, just single-use control panels.
That's cool.
So you can just bring up like Active Center.
You just put a different
Action
GUID
Center.
in, and then you get a different thing.
Different thing. So
but
home
you have to
group
know
or
the
whatever.
master GUIDs.
Right. So there's a list of this stuff.
Right.
Obviously, they're all over the internet. So.
Yeah. It's okay. I'm just smiling at the booth page.
It's funny. When I record this at
that.
home, people actually walk by my window and take pictures.
They do?
So this is just like...
So you're used to that. You're used to flash bulbs going off?
Yeah,
all the time?
Right.
It's really fun.
Actually, it's usually my son going, we're going to be playing video games?
Anytime now. We're going to let you go,
Yeah.
and you can play your video games. Paul Thurrott, it's great to see you.
You too.
I hope you're not exhausted from your
it's nice
visit
to
touch
you.
Did
I just say that?
touch me. What's next? Are you going to go home tonight or tomorrow?
Tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night. So you got one more day.
Yeah, I'll be hanging around here like a fanboy. I'll be...
Well, please do.
Yeah,
I love having you around. It's really great to see you. And,
You too.
And every time I look over my shoulder, there's Paul Thurrott.
Oh,
It
God.
makes me jump, which is great. I enjoy
How
that.
come the police haven't taken care of this guy yet? Yeah. Well, I'm like Gollum in the Lord of the Rings.
Any parties, anything that you
last
after
night I
hours?
just crashed. I didn't do
Me too.
anything.
People, you come to CES, you say, I'm going to be in Vegas, it's going to be great, we're going to be partying, it's going to be great, and it's so exhausting that by the time you're done with the show, you just want to go to bed.
It's important to know your limitations. So tonight I'm going to go. Lenovo's been having a thing each night. I'm going to try to show up tonight.
That's going to be fun, and Ryan Block and the Gadget crew is going to be there.
Yeah,
I think
so
I'm
I'll
gonna
try to
stop
do
by
that.
one. Yeah, that's going to be a lot.
We'll see.
Paul Thurrott, great to see you. Thank you for doing Windows Weekly under these straining, stressful situations, circumstances. Thanks for bringing the Lenovo guy by too. I thought
that was neat. I wanted
you're
you to
right.
see
I think
that,
that's the product of the show.
I think so too.
At least from a PC point of view.
Yeah.
We are going to talk more about PCs a little later with Ryan Shrout of This Week in Computer Hardware. But thank you all for being here for a very special CES edition of Windows Weekly. We'll see you next week, Paul, back in Dedham.
That's right.
Dead but not Dedham.
Night of the Living Dedham, as we call it.